What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got Islam Makhachev talking what his plans are to do this Saturday, Colby Covington trolling Jon Jones, two fighters leaving the UFC, and much more. Islam Makhachev plans to smack talk Bobby Green in the middle of the fight. Dagestan's Islam Makhachev is preparing for a little smack talk inside the cage during the Fight Night main event this Saturday against Bobby Green. Green took the fight on short notice after Beneil Dariush, Islam's original opponent, withdrew from the fight due to an injury. Green is an exceptional striker who has recently won a fight against Nasrat Haqparast earlier this month via unanimous decision, his second victory in a row. But Makhachev is on a 9-fight winning streak and has looked outstanding in all of those fights, en route to a potential lightweight title shot if he can get past the underdog, Green. It seems as though Islam is ready for anything in this fight, and when he was asked about whether there will be any chatter inside the cage come Saturday night, this is what he had to say.
We're gonna talk inside the cage. I'm gonna take him down and tell them, hey, let's go, get up. Yeah, I'm gonna talk. He gonna talk with me when we beginning striking, but when I'm gonna take him down, I'm gonna ask him a couple questions.
What do you think of Islam's comments here? And who you got for this battle between Islam and Bobby Green? UFC Champion Israel Adesanya gives props to Jake Paul over fighter pay talk. It's safe to say that everyone believes fighters should be paid more, but how much is the question? For Jake Paul, he says that fighters should be able to get a pension, health care, and a fair wage, among other things. Israel Adesanya, the middleweight champion, is on board with much of what Jake Paul is saying with regards to how he's able to rattle the UFC's hornet's nest and actually get a living wage for fighters who are still up and coming in the promotion or are really early in their UFC careers. Case in point, during a recent interview with TalkSport in the United Kingdom, Adesanya was asked about Jake Paul and his statements about fighter pay. And this is what the last stylebender had to say.
I think Jake Paul, he was the right guy to do so at the time. He was kind of one of the guys to just kind of get this conversation going. Then Francis jumped in, and then, yeah, you have me even now speaking about it.
Adesanya goes on to talk about how he believes that while the top guys should be paid their worth, he truly believes that fighters who are on the lower end of the scale, that is, who are just on their second fight in the promotion and haven't really set themselves up yet, should be paid good enough to focus on a 12-week fight camp and not have any other job. He says that fighters should at least be making enough money to pay their trainers and managers to train full-time and not have to worry about making ends meet because they are not working a second or even a third job. Adesanya also goes on to talk about how genuine Jake Paul is in getting all of these things done. Do you agree with Izzy here? Or do you have other thoughts about fighter pay? And what do you think is the solution here? The UFC confirms Alexis Davis Danilo Marquez are no longer with the promotion. It's official. Both Alexis Davis and Danilo Marquez have been removed from the UFC roster following confirmation from the promotion to MMA fighting. Both athletes' contracts will not be renewed, and it's unclear if either or both will be brought back to fight in the premier MMA organization. Brazil's Marquez fought 4 times inside the octagon since he was signed in 2020. And while he started strong, winning 2 fights, including a submission victory in the second round against Mike Rodriguez, he's been knocked out twice in a row in his last 2 outings. Meanwhile, Davis is a bit more of a surprise, given that she's been in the promotion since 2013 and is a former bantamweight title challenger who lost to Ronda Rousey back in 2014. She's also fought in Strikeforce and Invicta before the UFC, where she also competed in the flyweight division. The Canadian-born 37-year-old fighter has lost 6 of her last 8 fights dating back to 2018, although she did end up with a victory in her last fight against Julia Stoliarenko by a unanimous decision earlier this month. What are your thoughts on the UFC not renewing the contract of both Marquez and Davis? Don't forget to take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all of the latest fight news. Following news of Jon Jones' fiancée allegedly leaving him, Colby Covington piles on. It's been a pretty down year for Jon Jones overall, from being at odds with the promotion over his high-profile move to the heavyweight division to his arrest for domestic misdemeanor battery in September, to his longtime fiancée making it official that she's leaving. His now alleged former fiancée, Jessie Moses, recently split up with the former light heavyweight champion just a few months after his brief detainment over battery domestic violence in Las Vegas. Body cam footage of the whole incident was recently released this week by Las Vegas PD and shows disturbing scenes of an intoxicated Jones headbutting a cop car and smack-talking officers. Well, in the wake of the footage being released and Jones confirming that his engagement is indeed over, Colby Covington, a former college roommate of his, is chiming in and tweeted this. "Tremendous news. Guess you finally knocked some sense into her, Jon Jones." The two have been at each other's throats for years on social media, with Jones accusing Covington of being a pathological liar. Even Jorge Masvidal recently mentioned Jones's and Colby's acrimonious relationship recently in the lead up to their UFC 272 main event fight on March 5th. But what do you think of Colby's comments here concerning Jones?
A win here. Are you expecting a title shot? Do you feel that this will be enough to get you a title shot?
Of course, because it's gonna be my 10th fight win streak. I really believe this is key for title fight, and I think is Oliveira gonna beat Justin Gaethje and 11 win streak versus 10 win streak. This is gonna be big fight for all MMA fans.
Do you think that Charles Oliveira is the most difficult matchup for you, the most dangerous opponent for your style?
It's gonna be good fight because we almost have same style. You know, he have good grappling skills, he have good striking, and it's gonna be a good fight. You know, I don't think it's gonna be hard for me. I can take him down easy because I know he don't have good wrestling skills, but his grappling skills high level. We will see who is better there.
Robert Whittaker talks about making a run at 205 pounds. Could we see Robert Whittaker in the light heavyweight division someday? If you believe his answer during a recent interview on Submission Radio, you betcha. The Reaper is clearly one of the top middleweights in the world, having been a UFC middleweight champion, and looked good doing it. He recently lost to Israel Adesanya via split decision just over a week ago in a rematch for the undisputed title. And while he did better than his first outing against Adesanya, in which he dropped the belt by a KO in the second round, Whittaker still came up short. He's still ranked number 1 in the UFC middleweight rankings, but he's lost 2 fights to the champion. And while he's beaten a who's who of the top middleweight contenders, it's unclear where he goes from here. He used to fight in the welterweight division too, owing to the fact that he won the Ultimate Fighter The Smashes back in 2012 at 170 pounds. He's found a ton of success as a middleweight though, but with him losing 2 fights to Adesanya, it seems as though he has to fight his way back to the title shot once again. But during an appearance on Submission Radio this week, Whittaker was asked if he thought about moving up in weight again, this time to 205 pounds. And this is what Bobby Knuckles had to say.
I can definitely see myself fighting at 205. It's something I've always wanted to do, just because I have to cut to middleweight and cutting sucks. So I think it might be fun. Oh, obviously, I do understand the gravity of going up to 205. The bigger guys, the taller guys, longer reach.
Whittaker goes on to say that although they are bigger, more powerful fighters in that division, given their size, he believes that he matches up well with them. While he didn't commit to actually moving up in weight anytime soon, he did leave the door open to, quote, dabble in the heavier division at some point in his career. At the moment, the top of the light heavyweight division includes the likes of Jiri Prochaska, Anthony Lionheart Smith, former champion Jan Blachowicz, and undisputed champ Glover Teixeira. But what do you think? Do you believe this is Whittaker's way of saying he's going to move up in weight someday? How successful do you believe he'll be? And what kind of dream matchups would you like to see involving Whittaker and the top 10 in the light heavyweight division? Thanks so much for joining us today and catching up on all things MMA. What do you make of what's going on in the fight world? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest news from the MMA Zone. See you next time.